All right, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. Hope everybody is doing great. We are 7 o'clock on the nose, so we're gonna get started. I know we've got a couple people still rolling in, which is great. But we're gonna get started right on time here because I appreciate all of you for joining. And want to keep on track and keep our timing efficient here. I appreciate you spending a little bit of time here with me this evening, and want to thank you again for joining. So we're going to jump right in and get going. As I go through the presentation, if you have any questions at all throughout this, on the bottom of your Zoom window, you should see the little Q&A button. If you click that Q&A button, it'll pop open a window that you can type a question to me. I will do my best to keep an eye on that window as we go through this. If not, at the end, we'll have some time for questions as well. But we're going to get started and we're going to roll through that. So if you have any questions, feel free to type it in there. Or when we're done, my contact info will be there at the end for you to grab, and you can always reach out to me anytime. So, with that said, let's jump right in and get started. Thank you, everybody, again for joining this evening. And tonight we're here talking about how to get your home ready for the spring market. We're going to talk about the spring market, what's going on, a couple of things to kind of highlight, timing, which is when's the best time to list and sell your home, um, how to get your home ready and prepared. So decluttering, we'll talk about the different key elements in preparing your home for sale, so that you can get to the market and you can have the best presentation as possible. Um, to give a quick recap for those of you, I know I see a few of you who were with us last month or back in January when we did our first seminar for the year, which was talking about if you haven't sold a home for a long time or it was your first time selling a home. We went over the basics. So we went over that and the full selling process. So if you missed that and you're curious, you can find that on my social. You can jump onto YouTube. You can find the full video there. Or again, you can shoot me a message and we can send over the link to you so you can join. You can watch that. But that was the first step on thinking about selling, getting ready to sell, and what to do and where to start. Now we're talking about the second step in the process, which is you're thinking about selling or preparing. What do you do? What can you do to give yourself a leg up on the competition or to be the best prepared to take your home to market when the time is right? And as we know, we talk a lot, and we'll talk a lot tonight about the spring market being one of the opportune times to sell. So, just a quick little introduction about me for those who I don't know. My name is Jordan Glazer. I'm a real estate broker with Remax Realtron here in the GTA. I've been selling real estate in GTA for about 13 or 14 years. And work all through the GTA selling detached homes, condominiums, a little bit of pre-con, and really just working and focusing on helping my clients make the best move for their situation. Everybody's situation is different. But really working together with clients to make sure that we're doing the right moves and being the most prepared for these moves, which is what we're really here to talk about today. So, before we get into the specifics about preparing your home and timing and everything that I just mentioned, I thought I'd do a quick market update and kind of overview of what's happening in the market, really. 2025 started off on the heels or on the tail of 2024, which was kind of a market gaining momentum as we left 2024 into the new year. I think, we had 5 or 6 interest rate reductions through the second half of 2024, which we saw starting to inject some confidence into the buyer market. And we started to see buyers kind of getting a little more active, getting a little bit more confidence, and starting to get out and into the market. We saw an uptick in inventory over the course of the year. A lot of properties that had remained on the market, and we saw a shift in the average days on market, and then new properties coming to the market. So we did see inventory start to creep up a little bit. Now, as we got into 2025, sorry, we saw that momentum continue as the first rate announcement in 2025 was another reduction, which we all expected, but really kept that momentum going. Where we sit today at the beginning of March, is a little bit of an interesting time. I do still feel like that momentum from interest rates is still carrying on, although we've got a little bit of this big cloud hanging over our head, which has been in the news nonstop, especially this week, which is tariffs that everybody is talking about. So that's become the real big hot topic of conversation. What's happening with tariffs? How are they going to affect our real estate market, and what's going to happen to the market and the economy as we move forward? I think to be as honest and blunt as possible, I don't think anybody knows exactly what's going to happen. We don't know really at this point. Tariffs are in, tariffs are out day by day. They're up, they're down, they're left, they're right. Some stuff has it now, some stuff doesn't. So we don't really know or have any consistency in terms of what is going to be when it comes to that. So that's going to play a little bit of an effect on that confidence from people as we're moving through. I think if we're looking at the GTA as a whole and the core of the GTA, it will affect our lifestyles and affordability as we move forward. But I think it'll really hit hard in some other areas throughout Ontario, areas that are more dependent on the auto industry and steel trade and things like that, which could be heavily tariffed. So those areas I think will feel it much more than kind of the central core of the city. But again, we will wait to see exactly what happens with that. But even with all of this talk, we have seen that momentum continue. Hopefully next week we have another rate announcement on, I believe, Wednesday the 12th. So hopefully those rates will come down again, and we'll see another reduction. In talking rates quickly, just a quick update. I spoke to my mortgage guy today just to get a sense, because every week they change. Right now, 3-year fixed rates, you can get somewhere around the 4.19%, so just over 4%. 5-year fixed is about 4.29, so not too much difference between the 3 and the 5-year fixed. And the 5-year variable today about 5.5%. So rates have started to come down. Those fixed rates, I saw an article the other day that the bond yields were starting to come down, and our fixed rates are directly tied to that. So we might see some shifts in that. But we'll see, and we'll see with the variable rate what happens next week with the Bank of Canada announcement. But to take a quick look at here what we see, so we'll look at the year-over-year summary, which is just above my head here. So in 2025 so far, we've seen just over 4,000 sales at this point. Last year we had 5,500 sales, so a little bit more activity in this time period last year versus this year, down about 27.5%. New listings, 12,000 versus 11, so fairly similar. The biggest difference we see here is active listings. So an increase in 76% of active listings, which is telling us that, stuff is staying on the market. It's not turning over as quickly. In some areas, the months of inventory is creeping up into that neutral and buyer's market, whereas a lot of the times we've been used to more of a seller's market. Average price down very, very slightly, a minimal difference, 2% in the average price. And then you see here, just next to my head, you see average days on market, fairly similar. We've got a 12 to 16% difference in that, but both staying in and around the same. To jump over to the right here, just for a second, I wanted to touch on that because a lot of people hear about what's happening in the condo market versus the detached market. So there is a little bit of a difference in terms of what's happening sales-wise and price-wise, condo market versus the detached housing market. I'll jump over, let me get my right here to the detached. Detached house is there for a sec. You can't see my finger, but you'll see there in the 416 average price up about 7.5% so far this year, where in the 905 it's down 3%. And then if you look down to the condo market at the bottom of that chart, year-over-year change, prices down about 0.5% in the 416 and about 4.7% in the 905. So we're still seeing a little bit of a sluggish condo market happening in terms of prices. An average price year-over-year. If you look in February at, a little bit higher in the chart there, sales so far in the 416, 830 condo sales this year so far in February, which is a huge number compared to just under 400 in the 905. That's a big number and a big difference, which is pretty impressive, even compared to the detached houses at 411 sales in the 416, which is a big difference. And then you see it jump up 905, 1,200 sales, given the much bigger area. So just to give you a little snapshot on what's happening market-wise there. as a summary as well, we look at unit sales. So unit sales, as you see here on the left of the screen, is starting off the year at one of the lowest points that we've seen in about the last 12 years or so. Homes available for sale were up at the highest. So it's interesting. If you look at supply and demand, our supply is higher than it's been in a very long time. Unit sales are a little bit lower. But what's interesting the most about that and those dynamics is that if we look at the average prices, um, average price is still pretty consistent. You see just over $1 million right here in terms of the average price, which is in line, in the top few years that we've seen, in line with 2024. Down a little bit from 2022, which is in the middle of that COVID period where things were going crazy. And then on the right side of the screen here, listings versus sales. So you see currently 2025 listings is at quite a peak for the last little while, and sales are lagging behind. So hopefully, as we move through into the spring, some of those listings that are on the market will start to get eaten up. We'll see that listings number come down, and we'll see that sales number come up a little bit. Overall, in the city, I believe that we're in a fairly balanced market overall. We're starting to see things liven up a little bit. I think as we go through, next week is March break for the public school system. As we go through that and then into the end of March and into April, assuming economic factors stay fairly similar, I think we will start to see things pick up. And I think we do see a lot of people starting, like we're going to talk about now, starting to get their homes ready to go to market. So we will see some more of that inventory come up, but with that inventory also comes more sales because people are buying and selling together. Quick question in the chat here, or in the question is, would you go with a variable or a fixed at the time of renewal? Really depends on your kind of risk threshold, if you want to call it, and how long you're looking to lock in for. Traditionally over the last 10 years or so, 15 years, if you were to look and do a comparison between the two, although the variable rates in the last year went up pretty high, we saw them up in the 7-ish range. It would have been painful at that, but overall, you still would have probably done a little bit better than the average 3 or 5 year fixed. I do believe that rates will continue to come down, so that 5.5 variable will probably continue to inch down. I think we'll see more movement in that than we will in the fixed rates. The fixed rates, I think, will be much slower to move, but we'll see them start to creep down. And I think as we go through within the next couple of months, we probably see things settle, let's call it somewhere around the 3.5%-ish range. So it really depends on kind of that risk threshold that you have and how long you want to look out for it as. For me, I've always been kind of the variable on the variable side of things. You always have, in most cases, the ability to lock in if you need to, if you start to see things shift or you get a little uneasy. But at least it gives you that flexibility or variability if you do see some reductions in rates. If you're very risk averse and just want to lock in and know what you're dealing with, then maybe that 3 year fix right now isn't too bad. In 3 years, hopefully things have settled and they're at a little bit of a lower point. So something interesting if you don't know, and I'll just say it for most people, with a variable rate, even if the rates go up or down, it doesn't necessarily change the amount of your payment per month. It just changes the amount of interest you pay or principal you pay. So if you're paying $2,000 a month and the rates change, you'll still pay $2,000 a month. It's just that more will go towards your interest than your principal, or vice versa. Hope that helps answer that question there. So that's just a quick overview snapshot of what's happening in the market. Again, if you have questions on your specific house, specific values or anything like that, reach out to me afterwards and I'm happy to put together an analysis and give you all the details on what's happening your house type in your specific neighborhood. But with that said, we're getting into the spring, so let's talk about spring selling. And why is spring such a great time to sell? And we all talk about the seasons in real estate, and everyone always says spring is the number one time to sell, and then we say fall is the second most common period of the year to sell. And there are several different reasons why. I mean, obviously, spring is great. More buyers are in the market. So as we come through December into January, February in Toronto in the winters, can get cold. February was a brutal month with snow and weather for us, so it kind of slowed things down a little bit. But now we're into March, getting into April. Um, we're all happier. People get happier when the weather's getting nicer. People start to think about making a move, getting out of their homes, and start to think about moving. So that's why it really the spring starts to pick up. Buyers start looking in the spring, hoping to move before the summer. Our real estate seasons really follow along with the school seasons as well. So people want to move in the summer before school starts, or in the fall before the holidays, so they can be settled before school restarts at either of those periods. So the school calendar really plays a part into our real estate calendar as well. The spring season is also a common time to sell because a lot of people believe and understand that these buyers coming into the market leads to an increase in demand, which gives you the better opportunity to sell faster and possibly get higher offers. Homes look their best. Everything's starting to come to bloom. Flowers start to bloom. Grass starts to grow. The snow is going away. Hopefully, the sun comes out a little bit more, and it just makes everything look a little bit nicer. That curb appeal, which we'll talk more about curb appeal in a little bit, but makes a difference for everyone. That first impression people see when they pull up to your house, when you've got a nice trim green grass and trimmed hedges and planters, and everything is looking good and fresh. Just gives a great impression versus sometimes, walking up to a house with mounds of snow and icicles hanging down from the eavesdrops, which we've seen over the last couple weeks with all of the snow and the weather that we've had over the last month, I guess, or so. Um, Higher sale prices. So we have here, historically, spring sales tend to fetch higher prices because the competition is stronger. I also believe it's funny. The spring is always the start of the year. You get the first few houses that sell in any selling season. A lot of the times I feel like set the tone for the market. And one way to look at that and think about that is, over the course of the last 3 or 4 months, you have more and more buyers saying, I'm going to buy, I'm going to buy, I'm going to buy. And if you were to go through and rate all of these buyers, you would have your top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buyers who are the strongest, most motivated buyers who can pay the most. Those people will jump on the first 1 to 5 houses that meet their criteria and come to market. Once those people are off the market and have bought, now we have this group of buyers that we're dealing with. So in order to capture that top group of buyers, you want to be out to the market first. You want to beat some of the other competition that's going to come and follow into April, May, and June later in the season. So that's why sometimes we say higher sales and more competition, because that best crop of buyers are always out there first. For the most part, multiple offers can lead to bidding wars driving prices up, and multiple offers is a topic that we've talked about many, many times over the last 10, 15 years because of the competitiveness of the Toronto real estate market. And I believe even as we've gone through 2024 with a little bit of instability, we still see competitive situations in a lot of cases, because even though supply has peaked up in certain areas, in certain housing types, there is still a lack of inventory. And when people are looking in those areas for lack of inventory, it creates that competitive environment. So we do still see it. I have a property I sold 2 nights ago on Tuesday, where we had 9 offers on the property. We had over 40 showings throughout the course of 7 days, and we had over 9 offers on the property. So there is good competition and good buyer demand out there, which is very reassuring to see right now. More daylight and more showings. This weekend, if you don't know, here's your reminder. We're springing forward in the clocks this weekend. So we're changing the clocks this weekend, so our days are going to get a little bit longer. Everyone likes to see homes when the sun is still out, so that's going to make it a little bit easier to see in the evenings after people finish up work. So more people will come out. Again, people are just happier and more active once the weather starts to get nicer. I mentioned already, families want to move before school starts. They want to be settled and get in there. Easier for home improvements, and we're going to talk a whole bunch about home improvements and all this sort of stuff in a minute. But the warmer weather makes it easier to get outside and do that touch-ups and get people in to do stuff inside. Low inventory equals more leverage. So if fewer homes are listed in the spring, your property stands out. From a selling point of view, you always want to be on the market when you have the least amount of competition. Funny enough, the time when you have the least amount of competition, the time of year with the highest sale to listing ratio, is the month of December. because less people are thinking about listing, and you have all the buyers from the fall that are still around looking to buy. So you see an increase in the sale to listing ratio at that point of year. But as we come into the spring, like I just mentioned, the first few that get to market are usually the ones that we see that win that little bit extra, because you've got less competition and that top of the crop of buyer pool that you're working with. Um, so the question here we have is, should you list early or should you list late in the spring? Um, and to summarize it very quickly, earlier you have less competition and you have the serious buyers, that top crop. Late in the spring, you've got peak market activity, but a little more listings to compete with. So you've got, the weather has changed, things have grown in, exteriors are looking a little bit fresher. So you may have a little bit more of a curb appeal or great presentation then, but you're also going to deal with a little bit more competition in terms of other listings. However, there will still be a good, strong buyer pool as we move into that spring season as well, because a lot of buyers are thinking that. And even this year specifically, as rates hopefully do continue to come down, more and more people will jump off the fence and be getting into buy and be more serious about buying. So that's a quick overview. Why spring and springtime selling? Now, to just jump back to that for 1 second, is it a bad thing to not sell this spring and to wait? No. Timing for coming to market and timing for selling your house, the number one variable depends on you and what's right for you and what works for your personal situation, right? You might not be ready this spring. I speak to a couple people that are in the accounting world, in the accounting business, and there's no way they could get ready to sell their house until May or June, because the next month and a half are crazy for them. Doesn't mean that they're not going to get great prices. Doesn't mean that they're not going to sell in a great amount of time. There will still be a good market. I believe that the spring market starts now. I think it was delayed a little bit because of that February weather. In the next week or two, I think we're going to start to see things pick up. We'll see a lot of new stuff come to the market, not just the stuff that's sitting on the market that's been sitting for a while or is overpriced. So I think we'll start to see new stuff come to the market. But I do believe, from the example I just gave you and from a few others that I've seen in the last week or so, that the buyer demand is there. Buyers are out waiting for good stuff. And when I say good stuff, it's going to get into exactly what we're going to talk about now. And good stuff is homes that are either move-in ready or need very little work, that someone sees and they feel comfortable and excited about, and that are prepared and that show their best. What I've seen over the last few months is some of the stuff that's not as move-in ready, or in some areas, lot value properties or stuff that need a full reno, or a tear down or stuff like that. Those things are taking a little bit longer to sell. I think because of the uncertainty about costs and expenses and things like that, they're taking a little bit longer to sell. Some of the speculative builders who were around a few years ago that would buy a lot, build a house, and sell it, aren't as keen and eager to jump in and do that. The profit margins and things are a little bit tougher right now. So those properties have slowed down a little bit from what I see. But the well-prepared, well-priced, move-in ready houses, if you've got something good, they will sell. There is a market for that. And that's going to take us to what we're going to talk about now, which is getting prepared and making your house one of those high demand, highly desirable properties that people want to come and want to buy and want to compete to buy, which helps you get your best price in your terms. So every time when I show up at a house, for somebody who says they're thinking about selling, the first thing that we talk about and the first thing that we look at as we walk through the house, and I take notes on what's going on in the house and everything. The first thing we always talk about, and everybody for the most part has, is stuff. We're human beings. You give us an area of space and we are going to find ways to fill it. So the first thing we talk about always is organization and decluttering. And it is the most important thing. It's the number one item on the list, to make sure that we take care of. When people walk into a house from a buyer's point of view, they want to see it and be able to envision their own life and their families living in the house. They don't want to see all of your stuff lying around. So decluttering is the most important and the number one item on the list. It makes spaces look bigger, and makes them feel move in ready. So a couple of things quickly on the checklist for decluttering. Excess furniture is huge. You know, filling up a room with a bed and a desk and four chairs and three ottomans and seven bookcases because you use them all. It might be functional for you in your day-to-day life, but when we're focusing on getting the house ready to show, we want to make sure that we have what's needed in the room, and limit it to that. So we want to make sure that we're removing excess furniture, um, personal items as well. We want to it's called decluttering for a reason, right? Our personal items create that clutter. We want to remove as much of that clutter as we can. Now, I always say if you do it before, you're going to have to pack it up and move it anyways. If you do it before, you get paid for it. If you do it after, you pay somebody to do it. So you want to do it before because you want to get paid to do it. You want to get that little bit of extra excitement out of somebody because the room looks that much better and that much neater and organized. Organizing closets and storage spaces. Closets are there. You can use closets. You know, we all have stuff we have to put somewhere. And there are some strategic places that we can put it within the home. But it has to be done organized and neatly. So you can have clothes in your closet and stuff or boxes in the closet, but it's got to be done neatly because people are going to open up your closets. They're going to open it and see it. And if you open up a closet door and three boxes fall out on the buyer, what do they think? There might not be enough storage in this house for me. We don't want to give that impression. We want to give the impression that there is enough storage, that there's plenty of storage for whatever you need because we have enough storage too. Some other creative ways that you can use storage without having to start looking at off-site storage and paying for storage and stuff. Using your garage, if you have a garage, there are ways to neatly stack boxes in the garage or put some furniture and things in the garage that's done neatly, to use and maximize that space, while getting it out of the rooms that are a little over cluttered and over full. The basement as well. If you've got a basement, use the basement, use it for storage in some of your storage rooms down there. Just use it neatly. Don't throw boxes all over the place. Leave boxes, stack them nicely. You can put them against the wall, even leave them away from the wall a little bit because people might want to see behind the wall and make sure everything is looking good and fine in the basement. But use those spaces. I always say, you know, your main floor is your number one kind of money maker. Call it your main floor is the $1,000 a square foot floor. Then you go upstairs to the second floor. That's like your $750 a square foot floor. And the basement's your $500 a square foot floor. So use that basement for that area. People walk in and want to see the main floor fresh and open and spacious so they can envision their life. Then they want to go upstairs and see how they can set up their bedroom or their kids can arrange their bedroom. You know, everybody walks in with their kids if they have kids and say, which room do you want? What would you do in here? We want them to be able to go in and envision that. And then the third thing on the list, clear off the countertops and surfaces. There's two big reasons for this. One, again, we want people to come in and see the space for what it is, see that everything looks good, and see how they can live there. And also because when we list a property, we're going to take professional photos. Everybody starts their search online. And if we take a photo of, let's say, a kitchen that has, you know, soap containers and knife blocks and toasters and coffee makers and blenders and whatever else we all keep on our counters, it's going to look cluttered and it's going to grab people's attention from the overall room and the space on the counter to the stuff. And the way that I always recommend it to people, and you can see in these pictures I have behind me and above me, is think about the last time you checked into your favorite hotel. It doesn't matter if it's the Four Seasons, if it's the Hilton, if it's the, you know, five-star inn, whatever hotel you check into. You never check into a hotel and there's stuff just cluttered all over the place. Everything in a hotel room has a space. There's a lamp on the night table, you know, on the little desk underneath the TV across from the bed. There's a notepad. There's two bottles of water and two glasses set properly on coasters, set up. So everything has its place. Nothing is just left there because. That's the goal you want to set for yourself. Now, I know it's not always possible to get to that point because you live there and you have a family and you're working and you're in and out and everything, but you want to think about that as kind of the target. If you can aim at that, but you fall a little bit short, it's still going to look amazing. So I always say, think about the hotel factor and try to get yourself to that point, or as close to it as you can. And you know that your house will be amazing, and showing its best when people come to see it. So number one on the list, and the biggest return on an investment of time and money, because we have both that we're investing when we're getting ready to move, um, is decluttering. If you do nothing else, that is the number one thing to make sure that you do. Then moving on, we've got all the maintenance and the touch ups and all of that sort of stuff. So once you move, and I always say the decluttering is the number one, because once you start moving things around and cleaning things up and moving furniture and boxes and stuff, things may show up that they need to be done. So if you have somebody come in and do painting and touch ups and then you move all the stuff, you might realize, oh shoot, we have to get the painter back because we missed all of this stuff because we moved this. So move all the stuff and get organized first. And then step two comes to the home maintenance and the updates and stuff. The number one return on your investment once you're done decluttering is a fresh coat of paint. A fresh coat of paint completely changes the feel for the house when somebody walks in. And it might not be the whole house you need if you've painted recently or not, but really focus at a minimum on some of the high traffic areas. So your entranceway, where people are coming in and might be leaning up against walls, your staircase going up and down stairs. When we get off the Zoom, if you're in a 2-story house, go look at the walls on next to the stairs going up and down. I bet you see some hand marks, especially if you have kids, or a difference in coloring. Because I know in my house with my kids, we have the same thing, because everyone kind of walks up the walls and drags your hands from time to time, and it just builds up. Um, so looking at the main traffic areas for sure. And then the next step of that is baseboards, doors, trim, and ceiling. And a fresh coat of paint on all these gives buyers not only a comfortable feeling and a fresh feeling when they walk in, but it also just feels like the home has been maintained and is clean and is fresh and welcoming for people. Um, when you talk about painting, one of the most common questions people always ask is, what color do I paint? So I've thrown some of the most common. These are the Benjamin Moore name and codes that I've put up here. They're some of the most common ones that I see and that I use and recommend, which are Balboa Mist, the Classic Gray, White Dove, and Chantilly Lace. Very neutral colors, some a little bit darker, some a little bit lighter. But you want to keep, if you're painting to sell, you want to keep your coloring neutral. You want to keep it fresh and bright, and you want it to be as light as you can for people coming in. So again, they can say, I want to put a navy blue accent wall in the living room. Well, they can do that, but we want to see it as nice and fresh and big and bright as we can. Um, the other thing that ties in with the painting a little bit, I put a note on here, is a fresh bead of caulking. If you look in your showers, in your tubs, in your kitchen, on the backsplash where the backsplash meets the counter, whether it gets dirty or it gets cracking or it comes out and there's gaps, those little things can make a world of a difference in terms of an impression on these areas. So it's a small thing, it's an inexpensive thing that could change the feeling of a bathroom or of the kitchen when someone's standing there looking, if it's not looking at its best. So it's an easy, quick thing to fix. A painter can do it if you have a painter coming over, or a handyman or anything like that. But a little thing, I always make sure to recommend it because it definitely makes a difference, and can freshen up the look of it. Great question. Someone asked here is to get rid of wallpaper. Um, Wallpaper is a little bit of a tricky thing, because sometimes wallpaper can come off pretty easy and it's an easy job. Other times it's been on there for years and years and years, and it might be a lot of work to take off. So I think part of the answer to that question is, look into it and see, have a painter come and see how difficult is it going to be. Get it quoted to see how much it's going to cost. Ideally, the answer is yes. Unless you've done the wallpaper in the last 3 or 5, maybe 10 years, and it's a modern in style pattern or style, the answer is yes. Getting rid of the wallpaper will give a fresh feel and a fresh look, and make a difference for people. But you've got to look at it in the specific circumstances and just see how easy it is or how difficult it is to do. But painting and touch ups like this is your number one or number two now, kind of return on investment item. Painting will get you, I always like to say, if you're not going to get your money back and then some, you may as well, it's not necessarily worth doing. Painting will get that back for you. Painting always makes it feel fresh and welcoming, and people always want to see that. Also, if you're taking pictures off the wall and stuff, it can cover that up and clean that up nicely. So wallpaper, as a quick answer, yes, but look at it in your specific situation just to make sure it's not, something that's going to totally change the value or the cost of doing it and gets it kind of out of that range of where it makes sense. Great question though. Let's move on to some other home maintenance and updates that I think are so important that get overlooked so many times. Number one, I don't have a picture of this one, but updating light fixtures. If you've got light fixtures that are old, outdated, discolored, stuff like that, you could go to Home Depot or Amazon and buy these round LED flush mount light fixtures for anywhere from like $40 to $100 a piece. I think on Amazon, I was looking earlier for a client, you can get a 4-pack of ones for like $69. Easy thing to do, easy thing to change, can completely change not only the look because it's a fresh, sleek, modern look, but it also creates a bigger room in a way because the lighting is going to be so much better with the way new LEDs are. They can brighten up the space. You can even control the temperature of the light depending on the room and where it is. So it can really make a difference for that. Fix all the little stuff. Leaky faucets, squeaky doors, stuff like that. Now, in every house, you've lived in your house for however long it's been. You know all of the little things that drive you nuts that most people wouldn't even notice. Well, think about those things, and those are things that you want to address if you can, just to make sure that nobody notices them and that they're fixed and taken care of. Updating hardware, it's a small but really big impactful thing. If you see above me here, there, this is kind of an older style silver door handle. We see them a lot in older houses, and this is just a more modern black kind of modern door handle. A change in that can totally change the feeling of the house. That especially in conjunction with a few of the other things that we're going to talk about, as well in the kitchen. I don't have a picture of it, but in the kitchen, if you've got a kitchen that's nice, you may have a white kitchen, but it's older, it's a little bit outdated and showing its age a little bit, and it's got right now the gold knobs, depending on the situation, aren't as in style, or if it's an older brass style or something like that, changing that to a silver, a brushed, or a black knob just to change up the style in the kitchen, something as simple as that can change the entire feel of a kitchen. I was in a house recently where it looked like it was a brand new white kitchen. It had new granite countertops, and the handles were kind of a brushed black handle. But the cabinets were the old wood just painted white. From a distance, you wouldn't know unless you were up close and looking at it. But with the painted cabinets with the different hardware totally changes the look of the kitchen. So updating hardware is a big thing, a not super expensive thing that can change the feel of the house. Smart updates. Smart houses are, all the thing. Everybody wants the smart thermostats and light switches and everything. So here you see, the before and the after from the traditional thermostat to this is a new Nest thermostat. Something as simple as that for a couple of $100. Also changes not only the functionality of everything, but also changes the look, and is something that for maybe new homeowners might get excited about that because it's something that they haven't had before, and it's a little bit of an exciting thing. Thermostats, light switches or light bulbs to smart light bulbs so they can be controlled by your phone is a nice selling feature. You can set timers on things. You can change the dim of them. So all those things with smart lights or smart light switches are little things that can add some value, maybe monetary in some cases, and maybe just an excitement level for the buyer that they're that much more excited to either offer or offer more on it. Smart doorbells, ring doorbells, all that sort of stuff. Kind of updating the house in that sense. One of the things I think that gets overlooked all the time, as you see on this side, is smoke detectors. So if you've got smoke and CO2 detectors in the house, and you haven't looked at them because you've been living in the house for so long, and they're starting to look like that. My finger got cut up there. That kind of beigey, discolored plastic color if you're painting the rest of your house fresh and you're getting it ready to look its best, and you've got this off-white dated beige smoke alarm, that is going to stand out like a sore thumb. So for $30 or $40, you can buy a new fresh smoke alarm, put it up, that's white and nice and clean, and it just blends with the rest of the house. You don't want something as simple as this to date the rest of the house. And if everything else is done nice and fresh and clean, but the smoke alarm is dated, it's going to make a difference. The same thing with light switches and with the light plate covers. If you see them starting to yellow and discolor, maybe it's worth spending a little bit and just updating those to make them show their best. But all the items in the house that are colored and dated and kind of just fading out, doing a little bit of an update and a refresh on that. These are things that normally you wouldn't think about because you look at these things every day in your home and they just look as they are. They look normal. But from somebody coming in that's looking at it, these things can look old and people want to buy new and fresh. So these are some simple things, some cost-effective things that can change the image that people have. Then we get to cleaning. So those things are updates, little stuff that can get you kind of from point A to point B, just to bring you up that extra notch. So we've got the decluttering, which is number one. We've got the painting and touch-ups, which is going to take you to the next level. Then we've got these little improvements and updates that will flow and keep things fresh and clean along with the painting and along with the decluttering and everything. And then we've got all of that done. It comes time to cleaning. And while you might keep your house very clean and fresh and you have a cleaning lady that comes once a week, I always recommend a powerful professional clean. A deep clean that really gets into some of the areas you don't normally think of as extremely important. And I've given a few examples here of that. So, in general, key areas to think about: kitchens. So inside the cabinets, inside the fridge, inside the freezer, inside the microwave and the stove and all of that, inside the dishwasher. People are going to look in that and see what it looks like. Inside the washing machine, the clothes washer, the gasket, the plastic rim that goes around. Some people don't even realize that over time that gets moldy. It should be changed anyways, but it gets moldy, and then someone looks inside and says, "Ooh, I don't know about that." You can order a new one online. You can take it out. You can replace it. It's not a big thing, but these are little things to keep an eye on and monitor. So kitchens, in the bathrooms, toilets, sinks, the caulking again in the tubs, in the showers, and around the sink. Um, Keeping the toilet lid closed when showings, when people come in. I always just mention that. But just looking at all the little details, maybe cleaning some grout. A steam cleaner can get in and really clean up some of the dirt in the grout. If you looked at the difference, I don't have a picture of it. I should have put one of a freshly steamed or cleaned grout versus what it looked like. If you didn't clean it, you would never think that there's a difference. But if you clean part of it, it can be a night and day difference. Also, as you see above me, light switches. I mentioned it before. These are some of the most commonly touched things in our house. Now, these are extremes that I have. But if you notice the dirt and the darkness on the light switches, either clean them up or replace them. Same with the area around the light switch plate, because a lot of times when you go change the light, you just smack the wall or hit the wall, and we touch around it, and you can see sometimes a rim of dirt around the light switch cover. So make sure that that's clean and fresh. A secret for you, one of the most useful items for this and for everything else when you're getting ready is a Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. If you don't have one, get one. It will help solve probably half of these dirt issues that you have. Even some of the grout, you can try it on and stuff like that. They're amazing. I don't know how they do it. I don't know the science behind it, but they're fabulous. I recommend them. Whoop, this side. Bathroom vents, dryer vents. Clean those out. You know that this cover can come off. You could take that off and you can clean it. If you can't get it off, you can take a Swiffer and get up there, or a broom and get in there. But when it looks like this, people look up and it just can give that kind of, not exciting feeling. And the last picture that I have on the bottom here, I'll get out of the way for you, is a bathtub. So that's some grout that is very common, but has become kind of dark and black and moldy. It happens. Oh, I see it every day when I go into houses. It's very common, and it's a very easy and quick fix. That grout can be peeled right out, and you can put a new bead of caulking in, or not grout caulking, and you can put a new bead of caulking in. Your handyman can do it, painter can do it, you can do it. But stuff like that, that can be worth, that can be fixed for $20 and can be thousands of dollars worth of value lost without it, because it just turns people off and it gives people an uneasiness. And if that's like that, what's behind that, or what's here, or what's there? And we don't want people having those questions and things like that. Um, Also, stuff to keep in mind when cleaning: if you don't paint them, like we spoke about before, but the vents, obviously, the baseboards, if you have baseboards that have a little flat edge on the top, sometimes going across that with a Swiffer can just take off that little kind of coating of dust that accumulates on all. So baseboards on doors, the light switches, the door handles, inside the cabinets, like I mentioned, all of these little areas that normally probably don't get cleaned because it's just in your daily life, you're not doing that. People are looking at all of this. So going that little bit of an extra mile and going into all these areas where you wouldn't normally think to can and will make a big difference. Somebody's asked, I don't have an overhead vent in the bathroom. Is that something I should install? I have just a window. So in older houses, in some cases, they didn't install them back in the day. In some areas here in North York, we've got houses that were built in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and it wasn't a thing to put bathroom vents in. If you open up the window and it's working for you, that should be good, as long as you have that airflow when you're taking showers and things like that to get the moisture out and get the air circulation. If you wanted to install it, you definitely can. Depending on the house type that you're in and where you're putting it, will kind of depend on the complication. If you live in a bungalow, and you're on the main floor, it can be installed into the ceiling, and then you can run it out and run it out through the roof or something like that. So not too difficult. If it's the main floor and it's a 2-story house, can get a little bit trickier in finding the route out to vent out to the outside. But you want to have some way of getting that moisture and that moist air out of the bathroom when you're showering, because otherwise it's going to create mold. Like you see in this tub image behind me. So something to look into. May be worth, if you notice it being a problem, maybe get someone to come in and give you a quote, give you an idea of what it'll cost, and then you can make that decision as to if you want to do that or not. But definitely should be something that you have that airflow. Otherwise, again, the moist air can create mold and create bigger problems down the road. There are small cracks in the ceiling. What should you do? Now, again, if that's in the bathroom or if that's just in general in the house, cracks can depend. The reason that they're there can have a few different reasons. Some might just be, settling cracks that are typical and normal. You can have them patched up and repainted and no problem. If you think it's something more major, like a major splitting crack, that's more of a structural thing, then you should have somebody come in and take a look at that to make sure that it's not. But in most cases, what we see a lot are just settling cracks, that over time happen, sometimes in the change of the season, with the expansion and contraction of building materials, you see a gap a little bit, and then in the winter you see it expand, and then in the winter it contracts. So it might just be that. You could patch and paint it and clean it up. If you think it's something bigger, then have it looked at to make sure that there's no serious risk or issues. But that's what I would say. If it's just small little stuff, you can patch them up and paint it, and shouldn't be much of an issue there. Thank you guys for all these questions. Questions are great. Keep them coming. If you have more questions as we're going through, this is great. This is sometimes how the best information comes out. So please keep them coming if you have them. So now we've done our decluttering. We've done our painting and our touch-ups and our little updates and our, all that sort of stuff. What I haven't touched on, that maybe I'll just mention quickly, I'll put this slide back on, is some of the more major renovations for preparing to sell. Now, depending on the house, the age of the house, and the condition of the entire house, some people say, I'm going to redo the bathroom before I sell, or I'm going to redo the kitchen before I sell, or I want to redo the floors before I sell. All of these things are things that you can do. What I'm really focusing on today are the common stuff that everybody can do that aren't huge costs and huge investments into preparing to sell. that everybody should look at and do these sorts of things. The bigger things, the kitchens, the bathrooms, the floors, and stuff like that, they're much more on a per house basis. Because there are a lot of different factors that come in. If you're spending 10 or 15 or 20 or $1,000 or more on it, you have to make sure that you're going to get the return on it. If you spend $1, you want to get 3 or 4 or $5 back on it. If not, then somebody else can just do that work when they buy the house and move in, and you can take that money and renovate your new house, right? So with those bigger things, those are things more on a per house basis. What I usually say in that is, if you've got a house that's renovated and finished, but one bathroom isn't done, it's probably worth doing that bathroom. But if you have a house that nothing is done and it's, call it original from the 1960s, and you want to do one bathroom because it drives you crazy and you think it'll help sell your house, I don't necessarily recommend it, because you're not going to get the value out of somebody who's looking to buy the house, because when they come see the house, they'll see that the bathroom's been updated, but all they're going to think is, I have to redo the whole house anyways, and you're not going to get paid the full value or the appreciation on the work that you did for that bathroom. So it's something to think about. Obviously having a new fresh kitchen or a new counter or backsplash is great. New floors is amazing. New bathrooms everyone loves. But you've got to make sure that you're doing stuff within reason that goes with the rest of the house. To have an old rundown house but have a brand new beautiful bathroom, you're not going to get paid on that. You're not going to get paid the full amount you want on that. So that's something to keep in mind. And again, I am available for everybody. If you have questions like this as you're getting towards getting ready or thinking about it, that you want, shoot me a message, get in touch, and I'm happy to come by and take a look, and we can talk about the options and things. How do you determine if it's a future teardown or someone can make something of it? Great question. Really depends on, there's a couple factors it depends on. One, the condition of the house. In some cases, if a house is so far gone that it'll just cost too much to redo and people can't see that, it might be something that's bought more as a tear down than something they'll renovate. So if, like, the roof is leaking and the basement is leaking and the bathrooms don't work and the kitchen's falling apart and the floors are all bent and warped because of the leaking, stuff like that might be something that people say more, we have to restart from scratch because it costs us too much to do the work. But if there's a house that's in great shape and, just is old or out of date, you have the pastel green or the pastel blue or pink tiles in the bathrooms, which are classic of that, kind of the 50s, 60s bungalows we see in North York. Or things are just outdated. You might have the old strip hardwood and you haven't redone it and it's looking old. If there's stuff like that, that's stuff that people can come in and they can do. And there's update value to that for somebody. So it really depends on how far off or how far gone the condition is, also the location, the size of the lot, and where it is in certain factors. So again, for this question, I would suggest, reach out to me after, and I'm happy to come by and take a look and kind of, tough to say without seeing it, but give you an idea of what could be worth it, what could not be worth it, what's your house worth today as is versus what it could be worth if you spent X amount of dollars or didn't spend it. So if those are questions that you're having, definitely at the end, shoot me a note and we can set something up to come and take a look. No obligation, I'll just throw that out there. But just so you have an idea, part of what I'm here for is to help give you that sense of confidence if you're getting ready that, okay, here's what I need to do or shouldn't do, or is worth me doing and not worth me doing. I am here, I'm offering myself as a resource to you, so please take advantage. Yeah. So yes, so we've gotten through all that. We've done the updates, we've done the cleaning, we've done all that. Now we're really at the stage where we're getting ready to sell and to present our house to the market. So staging is not the number one, but staging is a huge feature and benefit that I recommend 9 out of 10 times. And it's easy for me to talk about, but it's a lot easier for me to show you like you see here. So I'll slide over here for 1 second. You see this? These are 2 rooms. This is a living room and a bedroom, staged and unstaged. Now, the room right here looks like a completely different room than this one, but it's the same. The bedroom looks completely different. The one looks like a sad, boring bedroom, but the other one looks like you want to live there. And that's the difference that staging can make. It can take a, not so glamorous room or furniture and takes that room to the next level. And people are excited when they walk in to see it, but more importantly, is people see it online. Because like I said, everybody is starting their home search online. So people see it online and they say, I've got to go see this. And if you have two properties for sale that you're one or two that you're competing with, and one is staged and one's not, I will bet you that the one that's staged will sell for a better price and sell in a quicker amount of time and have more people coming through to see it than the unstaged one. It happens all the time. So what staging also does, if you look at the bedroom for a second, when you see, I know one is taken with my phone, one is a professional photograph, but the staged room looks so much bigger. An empty room looks small. A staged room looks much bigger, or a furnished room looks bigger. It doesn't have to be with your staging, but an empty room always feels smaller. And people that come in to buy houses a lot of the time don't have the vision or the imagination to picture what it will feel like or look like once there's furniture in it. So, in a house, let's call it, say you have a 3 bedroom or a 4 bedroom house. Um, what rooms do you stage? What rooms do you not stage? First and foremost, your living rooms, your main floor, like I said, your $1,000 square foot floors. Um, you want those rooms to all look good. If you've got a house layout that might be a little bit unique, even more important, because like I said, some people don't have the vision or the imagination to see how that works, and you need to show them. If you have a room that's a big room, maybe you can make 2 or 3 different spaces out of one. Every space you can have in it can create value. So you want to make sure that you have furnished rooms that look great, that are inviting and welcoming, and that people look at online and are excited to come and see it. If they see something like this, like that, and then show up to something like that, you're gonna be like, wasn't what I thought. But if you see the finished product and you show up to it and you're like, wow, this really feels great, people are more excited to be interested in the house or condo or whatever it is. So a lot of people ask, is staging worth it? And it doesn't make a difference. And the answer is yes. And you get paid on it every single time. Do I pay for staging? So every agent works different ways. Every agent has different kind of processes and programs that they work. When I work with clients, we work with like staging credits that we deal with. So depending on exactly the situation in the house and what we're doing, we offer staging credits to our clients so that we can help cover that cost and work together with it. But something that we would talk about at that point in the process. So staging, absolutely huge benefit, huge bonus. Definitely worth its value. And then obviously what it does, as you see from these pictures, is once we have it staged and we have the house ready, I bring my professional photography team in, and they do not like that, but the far picture there and the picture behind me, professional photos that are lit properly, that look great. And when the furniture and the finishing is done well, everything else just looks so much better. Can you stage my house, but I'm not selling? I'd love to move into a room like you show. You know what? I'll say this. I cannot take any credit for the staging. I am not a professional stager. I am not an interior designer. I can take no credit for this, but I can put you in touch with my stager, and I'm sure she would be more than happy to work with you. And help set up your room like that. I believe that everybody is, I'm a professional and everyone is a professional in their jobs. I am not the professional stager, but I make sure to align myself with people that do amazing work. So if you want, I can send you your contact information, and you can definitely reach out to her. I'm sure she can make your room look fabulous like this. So staging is big thumbs up. Sometimes people choose not to, but I think it definitely benefits and helps, especially if it's a vacant property or something like that. Another thing I'll just point out, I don't have pictures of it here, but when we do a full stage like this, we also do things like accessories and photos and mirrors, and in the bathroom we'll put things on the counter, again, in the proper places, and in the kitchen we'll put stuff in the proper places. So like that hotel analogy I used, when you go in, everything makes sense with where it is and everything looks proper and in the pictures. So it's not just putting a couch or putting a chair or a coffee table. It's the full package. It's window coverings if we need. It's curtains in the bathtub. It's pictures on the wall. It's lights. It's everything. So really making sure that we go down the whole list. And the way that our stagers work a lot of the time is we do a room by room analysis and do prep notes and staging notes. So the prep notes is what you need to do to get the room ready, and the staging notes is what we're going to bring in, what we're going to do. We have movers, we have packers, declutters, anything like that. If you need that to help get things out or in, it's something that we can help, and we'll talk about that in a minute. What's trending now for windows? Use drapes or remove? That's a style thing that depends on the look that you're going for. I think drapes are definitely still in style. We see it a lot, depending on the room size and the volume and the type of drape, how heavy of a drape you're going to use. You know, window coverings can be as simple as like just basic roller shades that you can do nice and clean and neat. If you're doing window coverings to sell, I would do them neutral and clean. Maybe like the zebra style so that it's a little bit of an upscale look. But it really depends on the style that you're going for. Yes, whoever has to leave, you can rewatch it. We will send you out a copy of this probably tomorrow that you can finish watching. Don't everybody go, but yeah, we'll send you out a recording of this and it'll be available on our YouTube so you can watch it anytime. So if you do have to go, but please don't everybody leave. I hope you're enjoying so far, and I love the questions, so please keep them coming. This is great. All right, so staging. Big thumbs up and well worth the investment. Let's talk outside the house. Curb appeal, boosting your curb appeal. First impressions matter. I say to everybody when we list a house, we have to do all of the prep work and everything because you only get one chance to make a first impression. And the real first impression is when people drive by the house, not even when they come to see it for their showing. But chances are, if someone books a showing for tomorrow at a house to see it, they're driving by it tonight with their spouse or their kids or their parents or grandparents, whoever. They're driving by it before they actually come. So we want to make sure that outside is set up and first impressions matter. And we're talking about selling in the spring. So things are getting into bloom, things are looking better. It's not as much as just making sure, if you're selling in the winter, let me say this before we get to the spring. Keeping the driveway shoveled and clear, the walkway shoveled and clear. And not just clear, but if you can do it, I have a house we just sold where the seller kept the pathways in the driveway, like the edges clean from the snow. Like it was shoveled and swept and done to perfection. Put some salt down to make sure there's no ice so it's safe. That really makes a difference. People see that. And it just shows how much you care and take care of the house. But hopefully we don't have to deal with more snow this year. So we're going to talk about in that spring. Fresh paint on the front door. Depending on the front door style you have, some of the wooden doors, if you have one of those big beefy wooden doors and you've had it for a long time, they can get weathered. The rain, the snow, the sun, everything can just take a beating on it and they can look, kind of mist colored or misshapen sometimes if they're wood. So a fresh looking front door is super important. You want that. That's really the first big thing people see when they come to the house. You want to make sure that that's looking good. All the caulking and sealing around it, you want everything to look like it's in great shape, not peeling out and not crumbling, because that's the first impression people get. A well-maintained lawn and garden. So before you're going to list, and especially before we take pictures of the house, cut the grass. Maintain, if you have hedges or bushes or shrubs or anything like that, you want to trim them and manicure them and make sure they look good. Fresh mulch in a garden bed if you don't have flowers, or even if you do, a nice dark black mulch with some fresh green shrubs and stuff really, really, really looks sharp and makes people kind of excited. If it's into the season already, flowers and things like that can also add a splash of color. If you have outdoor lighting, it also looks really nice. Sometimes what we do is we do exterior pictures we call them dusk photos. So as the sun is setting, the light's coming down a little, we turn the lights on in all of the house, and then we turn the exterior lights on. And it looks really sharp. And what it also does is it looks different than a lot of the other houses on the market. So it can give your house a little bit of a leg up and just getting noticed. So if you have some outdoor lighting, great. I'm not saying go spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on outdoor lighting. If you don't have it, it's okay. Or you can also go and you can get some of the solar powered nice, like now you can get such nice stuff for reasonable cost and put some out along the pathway in the garden bed. It'll just improve the look of the house a little bit. Like I mentioned with the snow, cleaning the pathways and the driveways. After you do a good cut of the grass, edging the grass around the walkways and things like that, so it just looks clean and complete. Um, that can go a long way as well. Garbage bins, if you have garbage bins, don't keep them in the front of the house. At least for this period of time, if you put them in the garage or in the backyard away, tucked away somewhere, nobody wants to see garbage and recycling and green bins is the first thing that they see when they walk up to the house. Um, do you suggest repaving the driveway? It's on my list. Um, it depends on the driveway. Repaving is different. There are a few options you have with driveways. There's repaving, which is, either ripping it out and redoing it or doing a new top coat. You can also do a reseal, which is not redoing the actual asphalt or concrete, but, almost like painting the driveway essentially, resealing the cracks. It gets that nice, rich, dark black look, which can be very, very nice. That might be the extent you do. The other thing you could possibly do is you could do a power wash. Power wash the driveway. When we're talking power wash, you can also power wash the walkway or the front steps, or if you have siding or brick. A power washer when preparing for sale can be your best friend. There are also companies you can call that will come and do the power washing, but a power washer can be your best friend. Driveway, walkways, doors, windows. I have here window cleaning and eaves cleaning. You want to make sure things are windows are cleaned. Eaves troughs too. Depending on where your house is with the leaves, you don't want people coming to see it if it's while it's raining or after it's raining and water be, spilling over because the eaves are clogged or leaks coming out. You want it to be working and it all being operating. I don't have it on here, but a tip for everyone, especially this time of year, is make sure that your downspouts are extended away from your house. Make sure that they go at least like 3 or 4 or 5 feet away from your house because with all the water coming down, you don't want it going back in towards the foundation. That's a recipe for issues in your basement. You want it driven away from the house so that it's no issue, and people like to see that. If you're doing a home inspection, it's one of the number one things that home inspectors will comment on. It's almost like a standard print in their reports, is making sure that downspouts come as far away from the house as you can to avoid any issues in the basement. So do you have to repave the driveway? You don't necessarily have to repave the driveway, but maybe a power wash or a reseal or something like that might be enough to really make it pop and look great with the rest of the house. Lights and light bulbs. I always do a walkthrough and check all the light bulbs before we list. You want to make sure that all the light fixtures have bulbs in them, and all of the bulbs in each individual fixture and in the rooms are the same. You don't want to have one light fixture with two bulbs and one be a cold light and one be a warm white. It just doesn't look right. And then in the pictures, it doesn't look right either. So you want to make sure you have bulbs in all your lights, all the lights match, and everything is looking good and in sync and in uniform. An easy one, but gets overlooked a lot of the time. People don't think about that. So you really want to make sure that, like I said, window cleaning. Inside is easy, outside's a little tougher, but it does make a difference because um, you see the dirt and everything from the inside. When it comes to windows too, something you may want to look at, if you have some older windows and the seals are breaking in them, which is when you see the condensation bubbles inside the two panes of glass. Something also to have looked at, whether it's replacing the window or there are companies that can come in and repair that and reseal them. Definitely something worth looking at as well, fixing those little things because it creates a big image for people. And yeah, something to look at. Also, with the touch-ups, I just thought about it. I didn't put it in before with painting. After the winter, sometimes you get condensation on the inside of the windows and it drips down and it leaves some marks on the window sill. You want to clean that up as well. Totally common and normal, but you want to make sure that's cleaned up just so people don't think that there's an issue there that doesn't really exist. So that's some of the exterior stuff to do. You want your house looking its best. If you have, stuff peeling away, you want to get that all fixed, whether it's siding or if there's wood anywhere, anything like that. Grass, shrubs, hedges. everything cleaned up, manicured. You want it to look its best, because it's the first thing people see, when they show up at the house, but also when they look online at the house. And as we go through, just now I've got some of my, I call them the small details, little things that go a long way. Some of them you've probably heard, some of them you may not have, but just the little add-ons to keep in mind. Number one is the smell factor. You may get used to what your house smells like. You think it smells totally normal when you walk in. I might walk in and be like, what's that smell? Now, I don't always love the use of super strong air fresheners because those can be very strong and overpowering for a lot of people. And they can also, sometimes people feel like you're covering something up. So you want, as you're getting ready, open the windows. If it's springtime, open the windows, let some air come in. If you have carpets, a professional steam clean of the carpet will make a huge difference. Carpets suck up the scent, and they hold on to them forever. So a steam clean or a deep clean of carpets can make a huge difference. I have it somewhere coming up soon, but the old joke or thing people say, like, bake some cookies before the open house or something like that. But something like that, just so that the air smells fresh and it doesn't smell like stale air or like the salmon you made for dinner 2 nights ago, or something like that. You want it to be neutral, that people don't say, ew, or, oh, what are they hiding? You want it to just be a neutral, kind of scent happening in the house. Uh, Small repairs. So we spoke about that. Sticky doors, squeaky hinges, loose handles. You want people to see that the house is being well taken care of. These are all little things. You can do them in a weekend. If you don't have the time or you're not a handy person, we can have a handy person come in. And it's a couple hours work and they'll go through and do all of that work so that all those things are done and taken care of for you. Um, the power of light. Dark rooms feel small and uninvited, or uninviting. Sorry. So, when we do our photos, we'll open up all the blinds and all the window coverings. And I recommend keeping them that way. If you're living in the house and you close the blinds at night, before you leave in the morning, if you know they're going to be showings, even if you don't have any scheduled yet, open up the blinds. Replace dim bulbs with bright LED bulbs. LED lights now are inexpensive and so good. They last almost forever. Like I said, those flush mount round lights you can buy for anywhere from like 40 to 60 or $80. They're easy to change. You can have somebody do it, and they give such great light versus some of these old, whether it's glass chandeliers or light fixtures and things like that, or like the builder special ones, which is the flat with the frosted glass dome on it that you see in all the houses. These will totally change the look of the room. So light is very important. Forgotten spaces. Buyers will open everything. I spoke about closets and drawers and things like that. They'll open everything, even the fridge, even the oven. So make sure everything is looking good and fresh and clean. You want people to see how well you maintain it. Backyard and side yard count. So we spoke about the exterior from the front and the curb appeal. In the backyard, if you have a deck, you want to make sure that it's cleaned off. You don't have stuff all over the place, almost like staging the deck. Our stager can do outdoor furniture as well, which we've done a lot. But if you have a patio and the paint's peeling and stuff, maybe you do a power wash of it. Maybe you do a reseal if it's a wood deck or something like that. If you've got weeds coming through a brick patio, clean up those weeds. Get rid of them, whether it's just with an edger or you have someone come in and pull it, or a spray, whatever it is that you do. It'll just make it look nicer and fresher, and people can see themselves enjoying the time outside because they're going to look. So you want people to be able to enjoy that outdoor area as well as the indoor area. Add a cozy seating area to showcase the outside. So like I said, if you don't have something, stager can do that, to make sure that people see how you can enjoy the outdoor space. People are living out, people want to move out of a condo to a house because they want to enjoy that outdoor space. Show them that they can. Too much personalization can hurt. This is a hot topic always. What pictures should I take down? What can I leave up? So family photos, yes. Rule of thumb is you want to take off the family photos and the personal stuff. If you have a few here and there, I don't believe that it's the end of the world. Sometimes people see that a family was raised here and has lived here, and it gives them a feeling that, they can be the next family. Bold paint colors. If you've got a bright orange wall in the living room, that would be part of the painting section we spoke about. You want it to be neutral. Like I showed you those 4 colors earlier. You want it to be something that's neutral and non-offensive for people so that they see themselves living in there. Not everyone can envision themselves living with an orange wall. Um, like deep clean again, deep clean beyond the surface, the baseboards, fingerprints on light switches, the vents. Do a full clean, including appliances, windows, and everything. Um, like I said, first impressions start online. People are seeing your house through the photos, so you've got to make sure that these photos are great. We use, like magazine quality photos when we list a property because that is one thing that you cannot skimp on. So I make sure that we do that. And when we do our walkthroughs and our videos and everything, it's all done in professional quality like you would see on HD TV. So we want the house to match up with that quality as well. And the final tip, get a buyer's eye perspective. So finish doing your work, or even to start before you do it, walk through like you were going to buy the house. Imagine if you're thinking about selling your house, most of the time you're looking to buy something too. Think about what you think as you're looking at houses to buy and walk through your house like that. Go out, maybe go to the grocery store or go out, drive home, and as you're driving home, get into that mindset of a buyer and drive in and walk through your house. Better yet, have a friend do it or call me to do it. And we can come in and we can give you some pointers, things that'll stand out that you might not notice. Because again, you've lived there for however long. Some of these things you don't see as much as someone will see who's coming in for the first time. So like I said, I'm at your disposal, offered to help. Happy to help with that and help get you on track for that, because I think it's very important to set yourself up for success, especially in a market that's, right now it's a up and down market. You want to make sure that you're positioning yourself as best, because like I said before, well prepared, well priced properties are doing very, very well and can sell quickly for great prices. So that's it, in a summary quickly. We're at 8:15, so we're right on track. I don't want to keep everybody too long. But you've got to be decluttered and staged with the deep clean, your landscaping, curb appeal, small repairs, and that's the painting as well. I wrote staged and clean twice. That's how important it is I didn't even notice I wrote it twice. So these are the things that you really want to focus on as we're getting into the spring if you're getting ready to sell. It's not something that you have to wait till you say, okay, I'm selling. Now let me start this whole process. These are things that you can start gradually, especially the decluttering and the organizing. If you've been in a house for 40 or 50 years, you might have so much stuff. It's going to take time. Start early. Don't put that pressure on yourself. And one of the things that I've found is really helpful in getting the job done is setting yourself a timeline. Whether it's a date that you are going to call me to come in to look and you want to have it ready by then, or if it's a date that we say, hey, we're aiming to list on this date, so we're doing pictures on this date, so we have to be ready on this date. If you give yourself a target to work towards, it's sometimes easier to get there than just saying, oh, we're going to get ready and we'll be ready when we're ready, and when we're ready, we're ready, right? So set yourself a date in the calendar. We've got a great home ready checklist that we can send over to you. We'll send it over to everybody along with the recording of this. And if there is anything you need resource-wise, handyman, painters, movers, packers, organizers, declutterers, if you want to have an estate sale, you think, and you've got to have stuff sold, plumbers, electricians, a cheerleader just to help you getting along the way and keep moving. That's what I'm here for. I'm happy to help. We have a trusted trade list. All of the trades we use are people that I use regularly, whether for clients or myself personally. So we stand by their work and their reputation. So if there's anything from this you need, please, please, please reach out. I am happy to help in any way I can. So if you want, we've got this QR code. You can scan the QR code. It'll get you to a little form. You can fill it in and we'll reach out to you. Or you've got my email here, jordan@jordanglazer.ca, and I can reply. Or I think somewhere we've got my phone number right on the bottom there. So there you've got the QR code again. Let me get, wrong way. Let me get out of the way if you want to scan that. You've got my phone number there, my email. You can check out my website, jordanglazer.ca. Whatever way is easiest to get in touch with me, please do. I'm happy to help in any way I can, getting you ready and getting you on track to get your home ready and get you sold in a great market for great price with a great timeline to meet whatever the target is that you're looking for. So with that said, if there are no other questions, I want to thank you all for coming and joining. I really, really appreciate it. I hope you found it helpful and useful. And yeah, any questions, reach out anytime. You will get a copy of the recording, like I said, tomorrow. And yes, thank you all again. I wish you the best. Happy soon to be spring. And I hope to speak to everybody soon. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great night. Bye bye.